So you want to learn how to make a simple homemade pasta? Stick around. My name is Mark and welcome to Sauce Stash. So homemade pasta is pretty simple. There's only a few ingredients and it just takes a little bit of arm work to get going. We're going to use a pasta maker to do this. This is the Imperia pasta maker. This is a roller and a cutter. So this does make the job a little bit easier. They're not that expensive. I'll put a link down below in the description for the one that I'm using. You could use a roller and do it completely by hand, and it's really not that much harder, but we'll go through all of the steps. So let's go through the ingredients really quick. There's not that many. We just have 2.5 cups of flour, 3 eggs, about a teaspoon of salt, and about a teaspoon of olive oil. Now for the flours, I have 2 different flours. I have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and I have 1 cup of semolina flour. Now you can use all-purpose flour, but the semolina flour will give you a richer, denser pasta. Something that you're more accustomed to in a boxed pasta, but the taste is gonna be a whole lot better. So you don't have to use these exact measurements when you're making pasta. Essentially, you just have to make sure that the feel and the texture of the dough comes out right. So I'll show you how you do that next. But first, let's get everything mixed together. So we're gonna mix together our semolina and our white flour. I'm gonna use a larger bowl to mix everything together because I want some of this white all-purpose flour left later for dusting. So I'm gonna do about a cup of the all-purpose and then all of the semolina. And then we're gonna add the salt. So we're gonna give this a whisk real quick. I'm just using a fork, pretty much the whole process. The only tool that you specifically need is a fork and a rolling pin, really. Using the pasta machine is just a bonus. It does make it easier and you get a more even pasta. So now that those are mixed together, what we're going to do is we're going to actually just pour the flour right onto our table. And we're gonna form a little crater in the center. So in that crater is where we're gonna crack our eggs. Already had a little bit of an accident here. And then we're gonna add the olive oil to that as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use our fork now, and we're gonna just kind of slowly mix this around, gathering little bits of flour as it mixes. You can see I'm just kind of pushing the flour over the top as I'm mixing it. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of gather everything back together, scraping to the inside, and then I'm gonna slowly pick this up and turn it over onto itself. Then I should be able to work it by hand. And then essentially all it is just kneading. You wanna make sure that it is a wet dough, but not sticky. See how I'm getting a lot of stickiness to it? And then we're just turning the dough around onto itself, and it should feel like Play-Doh. So when you're done kneading, you should have a smooth ball that's springy, and it is wet, but not damp and not sticky. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to wrap it up in some cellophane, keep it airtight for about 30 minutes, and let the gluten rest. So let's do that. And you can see how tight I'm wrapping this. No air, no air. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and roll the dough out. You can see we still have a very wet dough, which is exactly what you want. So I'm gonna do just a little bit more flour across the table, and then some flour on top of the pasta dough. I'm gonna cut this in half, just to make it a little easier to roll out. Make sure I dust my roller, then we're gonna do these one at a time. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the dough over onto itself just to laminate once before we put into the pasta machine. There we go. So now we have 2 pieces of nicely laminated pasta dough. Might actually end up cutting this into 4, we'll see. I'm gonna bring my pasta roller over. We're gonna clamp this down to the table. We just wanna make sure that's tight. Then what we're gonna do is make sure that the roller is on its largest setting. So this will easily, you just wanna make sure this is nicely floured, and it will go right through the roller. I'm gonna run it through one more time, and then adjust 1 notch smaller. And then continually dropping down on the rolling machine. Now every time you adjust the notch smaller, the rollers get closer together. So we only need the pasta sheet to be about the length of the pasta that you want. So we're gonna cut this in half. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to manage. There we go. And then we're gonna keep rolling. And that's it, we have our sheet of pasta. You can use this for raviolis, you can cut it into linguine, into pasta. So the easy way to cut this is either with a pasta cutter or we could do it by hand. And I'll show you the by hand method really quick. So to do it by hand, you're gonna wanna lightly dust it on both sides, because if you don't dust it, then you're gonna end up with a sticky mess. So we're just gonna fold this over onto itself multiple times, and then using a knife, just cut out the pasta that we want, and we're gonna push forward on that while we do it, so that way we're not pushing down. If you push down, you're gonna compress them together. And that's it. So we're gonna wanna dust these just a little bit with just a little bit more flour, and I'm going to spin them around, almost like a bird's nest of flour, or of pasta there, and just toss them each so that way they don't stick together. And that's a pasta you could be proud of. So let's move on with the rest. So this, the Imperia pasta maker, comes with So the Imperia pasta maker comes with a noodle cutter attachment, which makes it really, really easy. So we're gonna take these thinner ones here, make sure they're completely dusted, otherwise you will have a mess. And then we're gonna add this to the spaghetti cutter and then start cutting. So once that falls, we're just gonna grab a pinch of flour before we grab it, toss it on there, so that way you don't end up with a bird's nest. Let the little bits fall, because we don't care about that. But then there you go, perfect spaghetti. Now this stuff tastes so good. It tastes so much better than what you're gonna get in the store. You can't beat fresh homemade pasta. So let's get the rest of it cut. Perfect. Now we can also cut a fettuccine noodle. Perfect. Thick fettuccine. Well, that's it, sauce makers. Homemade pasta. You honestly cannot beat this stuff. It tastes amazing, way better than anything that you're going to buy in the store. You cook this al dente in about 2 to 3 minutes in some salted water. You'll never have anything like it. You can hang the pasta to dry on a drying rack, or you could store it in the refrigerator for about 3 to 5 days. I recommend using it right away. Well, thanks for watching. Please click the subscribe button and click the little bell so that way you get notified every time I upload a new video. And click the like button and leave a comment down below. Are you gonna make some homemade pasta? What are you gonna make? Let me know. I'm also gonna leave the links to all my social media, so that way if you do make this, send me a picture. And I'm gonna leave a link to my Amazon store so you could check this guy out here, the pasta machine that I have. Again, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good one. I will see you tomorrow with vegetarian carbonara. Thanks, sauce makers. I gotta get this ready.